Hello and welcome to Steetley Pier in County Durham in the northeast of England. I'm hunkering down the grasses because it's really windy right now. I'm here because one of the very first shots I ever remember admiring in a magazine was of this structure that I'm going to be shooting over the next couple of days. I think it was a long exposure shot and it just really sparked my imagination. Now normally I wouldn't travel 9 hours to get to a location, but this was worth it. For one reason, they're tearing it down. And illogically, I feel really quite sad about that. And I wanted to come and say goodbye to the old girl. Now, Steetley Pier was part of a magnesium works, and the tubes that you see running along the top of the pier actually transported water from the end up to what is now, well, a housing estate. Now, depending on who you speak to, it's being pulled down for two reasons. One, because it's dangerous. That actually, to be fair, seems quite logical when you go underneath it and you look up at some of the structures. The other one is, it's an eyesore. The problem is, I don't think it is. I think it's really quite beautiful. Now, when I say beautiful, I don't mean in the classically pretty sense. I mean, it's just so adaptable. The surroundings, you can just make so much of it according to the weather. Since I've been here this time, I've actually had blazing sunshine, gorgeous sunrise, and this stuff, which I think is going to be pretty exciting to shoot in it. This weather for me has a pertinent sense of foreboding. Let's go back in time and see what I managed to get in the past couple of days. This is my homage to Steetley Pier. What's left of her. Welcome to the beach, ladies and gentlemen. I feel a bit of a dipstick because I'm dressed for the Yorkshire Dales in the rain, and I'm carrying about 12 kilograms of kit. Everyone else is in their bikinis, and it's just glorious. Now, I've given myself 2 days here, well actually 2 sunrises and potentially 2 sunsets. It's a sunrise location, so I may bob off somewhere else for sunset tonight, but tomorrow there's supposed to be storms here, which could make it interesting, to say the least. You may have noticed it is a blue sky day here, not the ideal conditions. When I was here last time, in a February morning actually, I got a couple of shots I was quite pleased with, and it was also a highly blue sky day. We then got a lovely covering of clouds, which meant that I could do a really ethereal, that's the right word, yeah, ethereal long exposure. Now, because it is a blue sky day, I have bought my infrared just to see if that can do anything. I don't really know whether or not, it being such low tide, high tide just after sunrise, I don't know whether or not it's going to work, but it's worth giving it a go because it is, after all, a cracking day. I've got quite access to these things sticking out the water here. Might do an esoteric, that's my word of the day, long exposure of those. But first of all, I think I should probably have a crack with the old infrared just to see what it does. There's nothing here to turn white, but it might make those architecturally bits stand out a little bit more because it does have a good texture. Steetley Pier is now in 2 sections, principally because they didn't want people walking down the whole section and going out and kind of wreaking havoc towards the end. It has a lot of photogenic features. So if you can have a look through here, under there, we've got some works that are wood and I believe metal going out towards the sea. I might explore that in a minute. We've got similar back up the beach, which I'm hoping to shoot tomorrow morning. But we've also, as I said to you before, got some of those, I'm going to call them girders, going up. So there's a lot that you can use as foreground interest and stuff. I have just got to show you something. Right. Tide's coming in quite fast. I am under the pier, as you can probably tell. Let me turn you around like this. And with the light difference and the shaft of light coming up and the architecturalness of the wood, this is looking cracking. What a gift of conditions, and this is the one time of year where I'm absolutely so pleased that I had the foresight to get a camera converted to infrared.
As I drove towards the beach the next morning, the colours started popping and I was convinced I'd missed that light show.
I've just dumped my camera bag and taken a shot so I can get some of that pink, but I'm not where I need to be and I'm an idiot heading towards my goal. Can't remember where I put my car keys. Probably should check that. Yes, found car keys. Oh, this is ridiculous. Well, that was a touch unpleasant. Got in at midnight-ish from wherever I was last night at the bridge. Left my place at about 4:45, and it's 2 miles, 2.7 miles down the road. Oh, forgive me, I've just got to focus and take another one. At the moment, I'm trying to do a long exposure with what's left of that kind of orangey light on the sticks that I shot yesterday that are right next to the pier. I've done a couple from the pier, but that was fast and frantic and I need to come back tomorrow, providing there's sun after this storm, and I need to do it more calmly. There was no zen in that.
So having had a frantic start, I now had plenty of time to stand and stare as those clouds thickened and the colour intensified before the sun broke the horizon. What followed was one of the most sublime sunrises where I captured a rare portfolio shot. When the light show had passed, I had the chance to really look around and plan my next 24 hours. I took a shot facing south towards the old town, and as the world woke up, I chatted to locals and waited for the tide to rise.
Now, I can't explain why I have such an affinity with this place. I saw a few photos online a few years ago and I remember thinking I've got to go there. But why was it I felt the need to drive 9 hours plus in order to come and spend a couple of days in the last few weeks of this lovely pier's life? I don't know. I have no connection to it except what I've got through photography. And I think that's the thing with photography. Sometimes it just makes you fall in love with a place. I don't know why. Maybe I shouldn't stand underneath this, just in case.
After that glorious sunrise, the light became gradually so harsh that the scene became pretty impossible to shoot. So I had a decision to make.
But I think what I'm going to have to do is to abandon in a short while and perhaps come back tonight. High tide should coincide just about sunset time. Sunset's not going to affect this area unless we happen to get some cloud catching. But actually, we might be due a storm, so that could be quite interesting.
After a good few hours kip and a good meal, I returned 12 hours later thinking, storm? What storm? I couldn't deny that those clouds were bubbling up rather nicely and the wind was coming up, and for once I actually had some potential drama in the water. Even the light was looking foreboding. How exciting.
I was expecting to have some thunder and lightning storms today, but they didn't materialise despite the yellow weather warnings that popped through to my phone about 3 or 4 times. But this is quite a different day. And I quite like the fact it's moody. It kind of suits the place. Whew, the wind's making my eyes water. Look at all that lovely, glorious, stormy juiciness in the background. That's gradually going round to being behind the pier here. I guess this is part of the reason it's coming down. Up there you can see bits missing, and every now and then there's a bit of debris that is on the ground. So I've currently got a big stopper on because there's quite smooth clouds, but I like to smooth them out a little bit more if I can do. And of course that means that the water's going to go flat. We're looking at 30 seconds at the moment at f11 ISO 320, I think. Okay, that kind of works. What I want to do is to make sure the whole of that foreground is covered in water, so I essentially have almost a forced blue hour a little bit earlier than anticipated. Crikey chaps, we've not only got rain, we've just had hail as well. That wasn't expected. Maybe it was. Maybe that's the weather warning. I now need a good bit of lightning. Nah, there's nothing for it. I've got to leg it. This is ridiculous. Last time I'm going to be here, I suspect, before this thing gets pulled down, although there is some debate as to when that's going to happen and if they've got the courage to do it. This morning is just about finding some odd angles as opposed to doing some of the classic shots, because sunrise is not going to be anything to write home about.
Or so I thought. I wended my way back towards my car and then suddenly everything started kicking off in the sky. Okay, it wasn't quite like yesterday, but it was still pretty exciting. And when the sun came up, it didn't half make those flowers pop in the foreground. Just lovely to sit and watch the whole thing happen.
Well, I confessed to giving up about 10 minutes ago. I got chatting to somebody and the light just did its thing. It wasn't like yesterday. So I found some flowers, shot something. I've got no idea whether it's going to be any good. But it just seemed fitting to give it a bit of a pretty finish. Thanks for the inspiration, old girl. Well, thank you for joining me on my sentimental journey today. If you've discerned value in anything you've seen, I'd love it if you could support my channel a little bit by giving it a like and subscribe, and even perhaps telling somebody else about it. That would make me very, very happy. 7.5 hour drive, here I come.